Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Between the Lines. My name is John Lofton. I hope you're having a great Sunday afternoon or whenever day it is that you're watching this episode. Oh, man. My back is so sore today. It is like someone put a plywood board and then just kind of fastened it to my back. And it hurts. And bending over is sort of like trying to bend that piece of plywood board, and you feel like if you just do it too much, it's going to break in half. But you know what? It was all worth it, and I've got a whole show devoted to just this extraordinary experience I had this last weekend, and just yesterday, in fact. And I'm going to keep some of the details of it just relatively anonymous, just to protect the people involved, because at the end of the day, it's really the experience and just the story of being able to help someone in need. As you guys know, I had a lot of help back when I was going through my kidney transplant, and so yesterday felt so good, and I got to give back, and it really felt like it was in a meaningful way, and hopefully glorifying to God. And honestly, I'm not boasting on myself here when I tell you this. It's just the experience and happiness from doing it, and realizing the benefit of something like that, makes. And so we're going to dive all in that. If you guys have ever had a volunteering experience or like a mission trip, or just a volunteering, maybe at your food bank, or just an encounter, one of those pay it forward kind of things, I want to hear about it. I would love to share it. Today, I want to take a break from the news. I talk a lot about it every week. Most weeks we have something to do with news related, and believe me, there is still plenty to talk about in the news. But this week I just thought, I do this thing every week, and I know it helps a lot of folks. But this week I just have a new sense of emotions kind of going through me, and I don't feel like I could do any news stories justice anyway when this is just such a profound experience that I've had this last weekend. And so I'm here to tell you guys all about it, and I'm actually going to show you guys some articles in Science about how volunteering and giving selflessly to others impacts your mind, body, and your spirit, and especially how God and how it lifts your spirit with God, and serving Him and all that too. So we're going to be talking all about that today in today's episode. As always, my show notes are in the show description. There's a Google Drive link, and you're welcome to click on that and look for today's episode. All of my show notes are there, in fact, from the past close to 2 months now, I think. And you're welcome to look through them, because I believe in transparency. I want you guys to know the research that I do for these shows, and the effort that I kind of go through, and kind of where my mind is at, when I'm making these. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in today's episode. And one thing I want to just kind of clarify here: all the links in that Google Drive articles, they're all just references that I'm making. None of them are anything that I would affiliate necessarily with or endorse. So they're just references, and they had some good content, and I wanted to share it and use it as part of my source material. All right. So my experience this last weekend started Friday afternoon, and I kind of had a rough week. I kind of got myself a little dehydrated too much, and ended up missing work on Friday, and I just wasn't even sure if I was even going to go to the camping trip that we had at our church. And there's supposed to be a men's retreat this weekend, and Friday morning I thought, I may not get to go. And this episode's not about that, but long story short on it, I let myself get too dehydrated, and it didn't end well for me. But fortunately, the recovery and the pain with it were quick. And once we figured out the issue and got all that resolved, it was good. So I kind of went into Friday afternoon and still with that on my mind, wondering if I would even go to this men's retreat and all of that. And so we got to I ended up deciding to go. I started to feel really good in the mid to late afternoon. And so and as soon as I kind of got in the car and we were heading out, I was like, I'll be all right doing this. Just make sure I get lots of water in me and all that. And plus, it wasn't going to be terribly hot. And the worst part about it was probably going to be the low temperature in the overnight. Friday night into Saturday, it got down to 39 degrees. And I'm going to be camping out in 39-degree weather. I'm hoping my sleeping bag's nice and warm. And that was my really main concern, honestly. But anyway, so we get out there to our campsite, if you will, and there's a church family of ours with some very nice acreage, and they were kind enough to let all of us guys come out there and crash the place. I mean, just camp out and um, but yeah, we had a good time. It was all about anticipating Jesus and not thinking so much of this world and focusing on God and it kind of set me up for what I would do on Saturday in kind of an interesting way. And I think that just talking about those sort of things and thinking about what am I doing to progress the kingdom of God, and for me anyway, I know that the show normally isn't too heavily religious, but I feel like this is important because the mind and everything, when we're going to talk about volunteering, I think that has a lot to do with it, and where your heart is and where my spirit is. And so those, we had some interesting discussions and very insightful discussions, Friday and even again on Saturday. And I think it really kind of set the stage, if you will, for what was going to happen Saturday afternoon. Now, previously, this was not part of the men's retreat, but there was someone in our church in need of a wheelchair ramp, and because they were battling a very serious illness, and the prognosis just isn't very good right now. But we prayed a lot at that men's retreat for that family, and we prayed even harder, I think, on Saturday too, and it just was on our minds, And so while this wasn't a part of the men's retreat or anything, only about three of us went. So it was me, another a brother of mine, and a sister of ours in the church. We kind of went out and did this, and we really didn't have an anticipation on how long this project was going to take. We knew the materials had been bought. It was going to be a traditional wood built kind of decking and all of that. So we knew there'd be a lot of cutting and sawing and all of those sort of things. And one of the guys who put it together, he's an architect. So, I'm sure he could design a pretty good, well-built a ramp, and sure enough, he did. And we kind of went along with it, but we really didn't know how long it would take. Would it take just a few hours, or would it have been multiple days? As it turned out, it probably could have been multiple days, but we worked so hard that day, yesterday, like 8 hours, something like that. I think we got out there maybe about 1 o'clock, and I know we didn't leave till close to 9. So, yeah, it was just a long day. And there was a moment, and again, I'm going to be somewhat vague on the details here, but there was a moment when the family came home, and the person was in a wheelchair, and that's of course why we're building this thing, right? Because she's very sick, and her husband had to pick her up and carry her inside. She just had no strength at all. And what struck me were two things. One, I thought about my mom. I thought about the 2 weeks before she passed away, and how almost eerily similar the facial expressions and the weakness and that profound just I wouldn't call it defeat, but I would just call it tiredness and just exhaustion. I recognized that look instantly. My own mom, who passed away from pancreatic cancer back in 2015, and I just recognized it, and it made it very abundantly clear to me as to why it was there. It wasn't something that was going to add any value to the property or to them financially or anything like that. This was just something as simple as, how do we get in and out of the house safely with these new changes? And we've all decided that this wasn't intended to be a permanent structure, although we pretty much built it to be a permanent structure. I mean, this thing could last there for 10 years probably before you'd need to do any serious maintenance. I mean, we really engineered this thing down, but it made it abundantly clear to me as to why. The reason? It wasn't for me. I knew that just this small little bit of help, even though it required a significant amount of effort, but just the simple act of going in and out of the house with a wheelchair was going to make their lives a lot easier. And the few seconds that they even spend on this ramp, maybe a day, going in and out, maybe to treatments or just to go out and catch some fresh air, it took. It's going to take. We still have to go back. We need to finish a railing on it, but it is safe enough to use. But that little bit, requiring that much effort and all of that. I've got cuts on my hands. I wish I could kind of show you guys a little bit, but I got a cut on my finger, on my thumb up here, and a smaller one up here. But more than anything, I'm just sore. My whole body is just sore. But it was about that moment too when I decided that the discomfort that I was going through, one, it wasn't nearly as bad as my own surgery. So there's that. And I'm like, I've handled worse pain than this. This I can deal with. I really wanted to sit down, but we had gotten to a point with this, like we couldn't stop. We had the decking and all that, but we didn't have anything for a ramp. So, and now this thing's like 18 inches off the ground. How in the world are they going to get down? We have to finish this no matter what. It had to get to a point where it was safe to use, and we worked. We worked until close to 8:30, I think, is when one person left around that time, and we left probably 15 to 20 minutes later, I think, and we just did it, and eventually it got to the point where all three of us, and actually the husband came out and he was starting to help too. And even though we were doing this for him and for his wife, he's just one of those guys. He just wanted to help too. So you know what, we went ahead. I know he knew that he didn't have to and all of that, but it made a difference. Being able to get all that decking in, all of those stringers done, all of that, just the base of it and everything else. It was a lot of cutting. I can tell you right now, I am good never touching a circular saw for a while. I'm good. As many boards and trim things as I had to kind of cut, and we were doing little notches and stuff. I'm good not touching a circular saw for a while. But anyway, it was so rewarding, and I came inside right before we were leaving. Me and the other guy who I was riding with, we needed to use the bathroom and everything. And I saw her sitting there, and I was waiting on the other guy to get out of the bathroom. And I just asked, I don't know. It's just, what do you say? We all know the circumstance, but she had said, "Thank you for helping." And I said, "You're welcome." And I said, "Are you feeling okay tonight?" And she said, "Not really." What do you say? Like, there's nothing that you can say or even really do in that moment that's just gonna make that pain go away. And the only thing I could think to say is, I'm so sorry. What if you need anything from us, with the church and or however, that's what we're here for. We're here to help you and to make your life easier. With everything that we can do. And I think that's the point of volunteering, is just how can we make someone else's life just a little bit easier? Even if we can't give them medicine or fix the situation or help them out of a financial bind that they're in, how can we do any little thing? Even if that little thing only benefits them just a short time, but it costs us an extensive amount of time. How can we do this? And I think that's the point of volunteering, is you just kind of do whatever it takes. It's sort of a calling. It's sort of just a heart and a mindset. And it turns out there's actually benefits to you, and there was benefits to me. And I'm going to dive into that here. But yeah, I just I was blown away, because the other thing that struck me too throughout that day, just wrapping this thing up, my experience up, is, a year ago, I would never have lasted even a quarter of the time that was needed. There was very little breaks. I mean, I maybe walked away for a couple minutes to grab a drink of water now and again, but otherwise it was just go, go, go. And we were cutting boards, picking these heavy pieces and moving them around, and it was absolutely exhausting. But I thought, a year ago, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I was needing people to help me. And now I'm healthy, as far as physical health right now. I'm healthy. It's my turn to give back. It's my turn to give back to those who have helped me and my family when I was struggling. This is what this is all about. So even though many people still wouldn't expect me to help, they still know I've got some challenges, but I can cut a piece of wood. I can carry it. I got two arms. They work fine. It just felt so much like the right thing to do. I think I volunteered as soon as I heard about the project. They were looking for people, and I just did it. I didn't even think about it. I just like, okay, I want to help. And the other thing is I had tools. I didn't know who was going to be there. I knew this was going to be a church effort, but I have an impact driver. I have a circular saw if need be, and I got a leveler. I've got almost pretty much every tool that we needed, except for the triangle block that I didn't have. That thing was exceptionally useful, and also clamps. That actually in turn became very useful for boards that just did not want to lay flat onto either the stringers or the joists underneath. So you know what, it worked out in the end. But anyway, so here's what I want to do today. I'm going to show you guys some actual evidence. Those of you who haven't come to the faith yet and just have this like natural understanding of this once you start doing this stuff. And maybe you do, maybe you're not in the faith, maybe you just like to volunteer, but you do feel it. I'm not going to try to assume everyone's situation here, but I'm going to step away from that religious view here for just a second and give even the agnostics out there, or even a couple atheists that are out there. I'm going to give you something here that actually aligns with every bit of what I've been saying. And so here we go. So this comes from Western State Connecticut University, and volunteering, and this is all about the mental health, the mind, body, and spirit. We're going to kind of talk about those three attributes here, and this kind of goes along with that. So volunteering increases self-confidence. Why? I didn't know how to completely build a deck. I had the tools. I had a little bit of everything. I had a little tiny bit of experience. I knew how to work a circular saw, but I'd never built anything like this. And now after building it, I feel confident that I could do some more extensive deck work if I needed to. I know how to, kind of adjust. And it gave me the idea. Maybe next year, if I can get enough money, maybe we'll extend our deck out. My wife and I, we've always wanted to do that. Now with ours, it'd be a little bit tough because we have to make a deck reach to the second story. So it's going to take longer pieces of lumber, and we're going to need, bigger footings, and stuff like that. So, but it gives me an idea. It gave me the idea of I might have some confidence and some new understanding now, at least where to start, when thinking about extending our deck. We kind of want to make an L-shaped deck that kind of goes out. So we're not just looking at the side of our house, and it kind of goes out just past where our walkout basement is and kind of goes over it a little bit. Anyway, and so it helps with that. So provide a healthy boost to your self-confidence, self-esteem, and life satisfaction. You are doing good for others and the community, which provides a natural sense of accomplishment. Your role as a volunteer can also give you a sense of pride and identity, and the better you feel about yourself, the more likely you are to have a positive view of your life and future goals. The next point here is volunteering combats depression. Now, many people out there have mental illness, even if it's not clinical depression or clinical anxiety, but just helping in that feel-good moment. It doesn't make you forget about your own problems, but you feel better about, contributing to the greater good for someone else. And there is something beneficial, I think, to mental health for self-sacrificing. It helps you calm your anger, when something didn't go right on the project, or more specifically, when I would pinch a finger or I cut my finger open. Yeah, it hurt, but I wasn't like getting mad and angry about it. It's just, I don't know, it's a different way to handle those series of emotions. It was a different way I thought about, how I'm gonna the kind of week that I'd like to have this week. So, I thought about all of those sort of things today as well, or yesterday, excuse me. So reducing the risk of depression is another important benefit of volunteering. A key risk factor for depression is social isolation. Volunteering keeps you in regular contact with others and helps you develop a solid support system, which in turn protects against stress and depression. When you're going through challenging times, working with pets and other animals has been shown to improve mood and reduce stress and anxiety. Oh, yeah. So if you can help at your local animal shelter, go for it. I think it's absolutely cool. My wife and I, we're not quite in a place where we can have a dog around the house all the time, but we certainly look forward to doing that. We love dogs, even if you're not a dog person, a cat person, maybe a rabbit person, or maybe you go out and help injured horses. Things like that. That is an amazing way. Animals do such a cool job of helping us. That's why we have, therapy animals, therapy dogs, and all of that. So, I just want you to kind of help. And I'll talk more about physical health, but I don't want to reference this one. But this kind of gives you an idea. But moving to that physical health, this comes from Harvard Health Publishing. So this has to do with evidence of volunteering physical effects can be found in a recent study from Cambridge Mellon University. And it says adults over age 50 who volunteer on a regular basis were less likely to develop high blood pressure than non-volunteers. High blood pressure is an important indicator of health because it contributes to heart disease, stroke, and premature death. And as for the activity thought to improve health, research have been trying to identify this, and they think they figured out that it's about 200 hours of volunteering, and it actually will start to help reduce your blood pressure. Now, I didn't take my blood pressure afterwards or anything like that, so I can't really attest to how I felt and my blood pressure. I know when I got home finally, it was nice and normal, like 101 or something like that, over 70. And my pulse was good. I felt good. Like I was tired. I was just ready to go to bed, eat a bite. But I still had this sense of just feeling accomplishment and calmness, if you will. And calmness, even when we're talking about mental health, being calm and not stressing and having anxiety, even for a little bit, I mean, that obviously lowers your blood pressure. So you can read this one too. Now, this one is very much faith-based, and I thought that this would be a good one to share with you guys. I'm not affiliated with this organization. I'm not affiliated with any of these organizations, but again, I just think they're good references here. So for the people in faith, this is where our drive to give, I think, comes from. And there's several other examples here, but this comes from Healing from God, and this one has a couple points to say here, and I'll reference some biblical scripture here. So one of the greatest characteristics that should embody the Christian life is the act of helping others. There are numerous scriptures that talk about helping others, and I'll give you guys a few of these here. Again, you can go back and read my full show notes, but my favorite ones here is, give and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. That's Luke 6:38. One other one that I like is this third one here. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others, as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. First Peter, not First Peter. I don't know what. Peter 4:10. Excuse me. I didn't quite copy that over. I don't think. I'll have to double check on that one. But anyway. But yeah, no. I just thought this one was really good because we all have gifts. We all have talents. Whether you're Christian or not Christian, we all have talents. Why not use them to help others, right? So if you're technical, help someone set up an internet connection, help your neighbor deal with their satellite, if you can kind of help with that. If someone's Wi-Fi isn't working, do that. You may not think that you can just with that particular skill set, but you really could. And that's kind of what set me off on Loft in Space and my main company, is that idea that technology can be used to help others and to serve each other. So, I just, And if you're good with animals, help with an animal shelter. If you're good with kids, volunteer in a nursery, or help with daycare, get involved with those sort of things, or summer camp, working with young kids. And those things are genuinely rewarding. Do the things that you like to do, but do them in a manner that helps someone else. If you are blessed with wealth, financial wealth, use it to help others. Philanthropy is always a good thing, and also investing in nonprofits and charities who are also doing good. And why not start one yourself? If you've got a mission or a cause, why not use it to help start an organization, or find a need that isn't already being addressed effectively, and then contribute to that. And I think you'll really find that deep down, even if you have physical limitations, there are many ways that you can still give. Even if, let's say you're in a wheelchair or something like that, and you just don't have a lot of mobility, but you're otherwise relatively healthy, work on a bulletin, work on flyers and things like that. Work on, a nonprofit social media page to help them grow and reach out. If you can type on a computer and all that, why not? So just don't use the limitations that you have as an overshadow for the gifts that you have, because everyone has talents, everyone has gifts. I just watched a story on local news. A guy who's been working for Hy-Vee, he's deaf and can't hear. He, over the years, has made such a profound experience. He's been able to teach other coworkers and customers and even the kids he sees how to sign to be able to communicate with him. And that skill is transferable then, so they have an idea how to communicate with other people who are deaf. Just because this one guy always had a really good attitude, really good personality, and he inspired others to learn sign language, which now then in turn could be used to help others and bridge communication gaps with those with hard of hearing issues. So it's all kinds of skills like that you can use for the betterment of others. So I just want to encourage everyone to find those. So as Christians, we don't, I'm reading back here in this article, as Christians, we don't have to look far to see the greatest example of what it means to help and serve others. Jesus' entire life, although brief here, exemplified the act of helping others when he touched and healed the sick, when he got on his knees and washed the disciples' feet, and when he laid down his life to give all a hope and a future. I love that. And if you're a Christian especially, that's really that's the only thing you really need to hear in order to be inspired to give, because you receive such an amazing gift and you have many gifts that you can give to others. So that's about what I've got much time here to talk about today. Just an overview, guys. You don't have to have such a profound experience like I did. And truthfully, it doesn't take much. You don't have to go out and break your back for 8 hours just to feel that same rush of fulfillment, and for just all the things that we've been talking about that help the mind, the body, and the spirit, and for me, the soul. It was so uplifting, and I'm still just smiling from ear to ear. I'm just beyond blessed that I was able to help in that way, beyond grateful that I was able to serve in that way. And it drives me to keep going. So the next project that comes along, perhaps I will be available and have the ability to serve there too. And I came with some greater skills. I walked away with a greater mindset and a very much more appreciation for the hard work that goes into serving someone else in that way, in a very physical way, to make a life that much easier. So I want to remind you guys that we do this every Sunday at 4 p.m. Central. We're on my personal Facebook, so if you're friends with me there, I've been trying to work my way around to getting the Facebook page for Between the Lines opened up. But Between the Lines on BTL Live, it is set up enough where you can catch all of our previous episodes. And if you're on YouTube, you can also search for the channel. Because we're not well known yet, it might be easier if you're watching this to go ahead and go to btllive.com. It'll have direct links to my YouTube channel. So I just want to encourage all of you guys to kind of check that out. So, but anyway, that is all the time I have today. thank you so much for watching Between the Lines. Again, my name is John Lofton. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We'll see you guys back here next Sunday, same time, same place, at 4 p.m. Central. Thank you, and God bless.
Like and subscribe Jay's show Between the Lights, please.